Hello, and welcome to Behind Closed Doors, what it really takes to create success in your business. I am here with a powerhouse today, Miss Sundae Schneider-Bean, and you may or may not have heard of her if you're an entrepreneur. Rhonda's going to walk around in the background because she doesn't you're not her customer, but you can learn a ton from her. So, Sundae, thank you for being here. Tell us what you do, Sundae. I'm telling y'all, powerhouse.
Thank you. I am an intercultural specialist, which means that I have specialized in understanding culture and how to work across cultures successfully. And I'm a certified coach, so I help people get really clear on their goals and where they're blocking themselves. And I'm an expat, which means an expatriate. So that means I've lived abroad since 1998, more or less. And I've moved several countries and continents and have worked across cultures with people from all over the world, and have also had my own experience making those moves myself. So that's what I do. So I help people in similar situations make the most out of where they're at and really deal with the ups and downs that come with moving abroad, as well as the huge, complex challenges when you're working to deliver and under high pressure in an international company and are trying to figure out culture in the process.
Yeah. So I'm going to dumb this down for people like me. I want y'all to think about if you've ever moved, like even within where you live, like if you, like, you know, we've moved several times from Atlanta to Chicago. That's a decent move as far as difference in a little, not culture, but difference in the United States. Then from Chicago to Bentonville, Arkansas, which is a different move. And then all of this happened from Sweetwater, Tennessee. So that was a big culture shock for us. It's funny, when my husband and I came to Bentonville, and we have really, the longer we're in Bentonville, the more we fall in love with it. That's the truth, because I didn't like it initially. I was ready to go. But we're driving from the airport, and the airport is out in the middle of a cow field. You look outside the airport windows, and you don't see airplanes and like a runway. You see cows out one side of the airport. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And then we were driving into the city of Bentonville, and it's curvy and it's whatever. And I see this big, like Texas steer, like huge bull. And I said to my husband, we needed a passport to come here. Like, seriously, we're not prepped for this. So that's kind of how I felt. And I felt a little bit like that when we moved too, but you deal with people like that on a much broader scale, right? I mean, people who move cultures.
Right, but there was a cultural difference, right? And I think what caught you off guard, because you weren't expecting it. You think, oh, I was in the same country, we have the same currency, we speak the same language, but then all of a sudden you realize there were big differences. And that's the same thing when Americans move to England or Australians go to the United States. Just because there seems to be a common language doesn't mean there are going to be differences in value systems, behavioral practices, or the way people talk to each other at work. So I think you're right that even within the United States, you can get a taste of that. But it's, of course, it's on a bigger national dimension.
Oh, yeah. And I've told Sunday this before, but Blake's boss at the time had just moved, like we moved within 2 weeks of each other, had just moved from South Africa to Bentonville, Arkansas. It was their first stint in the States and their last. And I adore his family, but I can remember meeting his wife and going to lunch with his wife and talking about the cultural differences. They'd actually been in Prague before they came here. And then I met Sundae. And so this opened my eyes up to, there is this, kind of like, I'm going to backtrack here a little bit. Kind of like when you discover the online world, you realize there's this whole world of people that you never knew about, this whole culture, if you will. Well, Sundae, after I met you, I learned there's this entire culture of people who move abroad for their job. I mean, it's a big amount of people, right?
Yeah, tens of millions of people work on classic expat assignments. There are, I think, 250 million people on the planet who live outside of their host country.
Wow.
Their country, but that includes migrants and asylum seekers. It's, a whole spectrum. But the expat community, meaning people who rotate every 2 to 4 years for the government or for a major corporation or nonprofit, is actually really, really big. And that is something also to keep in mind about the challenges. They do it every 2 to 4 years.
Yep.
So right when you get settled, then they do it again, and you have to say goodbye to your friends and get physically packed up again and get integrated into a new community. So there's a lot of uncertainty that you have to deal with, isn't it?
So we are hitting this August. We'll hit 3 years here. We've never stayed anywhere longer than 3 years. And it's like the itch is hitting me. There are things, I mean, not that we have any plans to move, but I'm like, I don't want to do this because we might move. Or, well, I know it's coming and I don't want to do this. And, I mean, we were walking or hiking yesterday, and I said to Blake, well, we need to X, Y, Z, and X, Y, Z. And he just looked at me and I said, I know. And then you throw kids on there and school schedules but here is why you all are in for a treat. First of all, Sundae's story is going to be an international bestseller one day. It is that amazing. So we're going to hear, you're going to be entertained. You're going to learn some about business too. But I want to start with Sundae. In the last year, tell us about your expat experience. What have you and your family been through? Y'all better fasten your seatbelts.
Okay, well, I mean, I know what you want me to share. I mean, there have been a lot of nice things that have happened. We've enjoyed
just the drama, Sundae.
So there have been some challenges that, before I moved to Burkina Faso, for those of the people who don't know where Burkina Faso is a country in West Africa. The capital is Ouagadougou. And we experienced a revolution where they kicked out the president after 27 years of reign. And then there was a transition government, which brought some uncertainty. 2 weeks before the democratic elections, there was a coup d'etat, September 18th. And then things reestablished themselves, and we went Christmas vacation. And while we were gone, there was a democratic and peaceful election. And on January 13th, we flew back after Christmas vacation, and 48 hours later, there was a terrorist attack, including a kidnapping of an Australian couple in the north by Mali. And 2 guards were also killed, in addition to the street where many friends and family work and have been, hotels I've met clients in, and a restaurant I've had coffee with my whole family. So there was a tragic terrorist attack, and that was uncomfortable, pushed my boundaries in a big way. And this whole 18 months, let's say, have been a challenge to keep up my expat resilience, keep my business going. By the way, in a country that has the worst internet on the planet, and I have an online business, I do face-to-face as well, but it's a big element. And also to make really clear decisions based on my own values that work for me and work for my family. So it's been very interesting. I learned a ton, really a ton.
So
and then I've been in transition with intercontinental family as well.
Yeah, which means her husband lives in another country, and from her and her kids right now. That's what that means. Like Sundae says it like the intelligent way, but that means they don't live a state or 2 apart. They live an ocean apart right now, an ocean. But let's go back for a minute. So the first business takeaway here is, and this is always said with love, but with a little bit of intensity. Those of you watching, unless you've got a story that can rival Sundae's, you got no excuse. Seriously, you got no excuse. We're in, if you're ill or something's going on, okay, great. Other than that, I'm talking about, everybody out there who talks about how hard it is and how challenging. I know, I get it. And you've got no excuse. Sundae, I witnessed this personally. Sundae was as driven to make her business succeed through every bit of this as she was the day I met her. Now, of course, there were things that took her attention, like her family and her family safety, but she is as driven, maybe more so, to make it succeed. So you have no excuse. So Sundae needs to become your person in your head. When you're down and you feel like, I wish I had known that I had to do this much video to be successful. I can't write. I don't know what to do. I've got too much on my list. You just think, oh, wait, that Sundae Schneider-Bean lady has lived through revolutions, terrorist attacks. Seriously, I say it like I'm joking, but I'm not. If she can do this, you can. The next thing I want you to realize is Sundae doesn't just run an online business. Sundae runs an online business, but she also works with clients who are big is not the right word, but so big that she can't even tell me their names sometimes. Like it literally, like we've had some conversations and sales conversations, and Sunday's like, yeah, client X. And I'm like, Sundae, I need to know who client X is. I'm sorry, it's confidential. It's almost like I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you kind of thing. Yet she kept all of this afloat through this. Okay, Sundae, so, oh, wait. I got to put this in perspective a little bit more. So January 13th-ish, I remember seeing the terrorist attack on the news. So you all have to understand that this stuff that we see on the news that, and I know a lot of us have been touched by tragedy. I mean, Paris got, hit like Brussels. I know that. But this stuff you see on the news and you think, oh my gosh, Sundae was living through it. Like I saw it on the news and then I got an email from her that said, yeah, I'm okay, but I don't, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Sundae, what's the hardest part about being a mama doing something like that?
Right. Yeah. I want to protect my babies so much.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest part is there's a couple of things going on. One, you can't operate from fear because that's not a very rational place to operate from. At the same time, when you're feeling vulnerable, you need to give yourself this space to feel protected. And I feel like, some of the things that we've gone through, I needed to know my own comfort zone, and my comfort zone might be very different from others. And I have colleagues that are just amazing. They've been through 3 wars, they've escaped gunfire. It's their 3rd coup d'etat. Like they live in a totally different dimension than what I do. And when you live in that environment, then you start to think, well, maybe my tolerance is lower than it should be. And at the end of the day, you have to think, where am I? Like me, my preferences, my comfort zone. What does my instinct tell me is right? And then you make the decisions based on you, because no one will judge you on doing what feels authentic for you and your family. And if they do, it's really not relevant. And I think that's the most important thing, is to sort of filter out what feels right for me and in alignment with my values, and then make decisions based on that. And that, I think, from a business perspective, I really think is also relevant. Be very clear on what feels authentic and true to you, even if it's unpopular, even if it's not the majority, even if other people are doing things differently, that will serve you. And one of the things that I've done that really helped me is, because these choices are not easy, so when it gets tough, you need to go back on your values and say, why did I make this choice? What were the big reasons? And in which values are they in alignment with? So then you can always know your decisions made total sense based on a value perspective. It might mean it's harder than you expected. It might mean it didn't deliver the results you were thinking. But if they are really true to your values and not somebody else's, I think then you can't go wrong per se. And if something crazy happens, well, that's life and you can't really help it.
Yeah. There's so much great business advice in there and life advice. But I think one of the things that I got really lucky, I don't know why it happened this way, but I got really lucky because I went through Martha Beck life coach training before I started a business. And through that, I got really clear on my values. That enabled me really, when things got hard running a business, to say, okay, this is value number 1, this is value number 2, this is value number 3. It was 3 for me. There are 3 that are kind of in competition with each other. So family's number 1, believe you can do anything and go do it's number 2, and financial security is number 3. Well, 2 and 3 can be in direct conflict with each other.
Yep. So 1 and 3 as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and there are times that I have to pick 3 over 1. There are times when I do, like, Hallie Ann is sick today, but her daddy's taking her to the doctor because I'm here.
Yeah.
So I think, but again, when you have those values and you can make a choice that you feel good about, from that point, I'm at total peace. And so I use that in my life as well, which is really helpful. However, you said something. So the business takeaway there is you absolutely should get clear on your values. You should. And I know we don't like to say the word should, but it will guide you through the toughest of times. But you said something else that I wanted to interrupt and say, how do you do that? So you said early on when you were talking right then, you can't operate from a place of fear. But Sundae, when you're a mom and you've got children you want to protect and all this uncertainty is going on, how do you not operate from a place of fear?
I mean, fear will biologically take over your body. I mean, it will. I mean, anxiety. I know that I had a evening where I didn't sleep because it was the day before we flew out of Burkina and the borders were closed, and I didn't know what the next day would be, and I was just worried. You know, is that gunfire with real bullets, or is it just air? You know, popping, those sort of things, and it made me scared. And I noticed, you know, I noticed the nervousness in my stomach and my fingertips and things, and so that's real fear, right? That's real fear. And that's okay under those circumstances. I think then you need to be really grounded and realize that the only thing you can do is be in the moment. Okay, but then the other thing is just the fear in your head, like when you go to bed at night and you just race through. And I did that too as a mom. Like, well, what if he has an infection? And who knows what it was. That is different from like real fear. I think that's in your mind spinning. And I mean, that happens to me as well. But I think you need to just do something really simple, like breathe, notice your thoughts, and also just take a checkpoint, like, am I resting enough? I know that I get more sensitive. I get, more winding mind when I'm just not rested. My resilience is low. So I would take a checkpoint of that. And I think from entrepreneurs, we're really not ever in a real fear-based situation. Like, we're never really under threat, like physically. So most of the time, it's our thoughts saying, oh, you're never going to make it, you're going to go bankrupt, all of those things that you need to do what Byron Katie calls thought work, so you really get clear on how you're torturing yourself with your thoughts.
Yeah.
But there was something that you said before about if I can do it, then no one should have excuses. I don't know. I mean, that's a nice compliment. I would really encourage people who are entrepreneurs to make sure that you are absolutely doing exactly the business you want to do. Because when things get tough, and I don't care if it's something politically or just in your family or with your children or who knows what, you have to put everything into it, and then it better be worth it. So be really, really careful about the right business, because you will work hard no matter what business you're doing. So you might as well be for something that you really believe in.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm doing some research on the amount of effort that people believe that it takes compared to the amount of the amount of effort it really takes. But I know, Sundae, when I tried to be a life coach, for those of y'all who don't know, I tried to be a life coach, and I wasn't one of those people who was destined to be a life coach, because I like to tell people what to do, not lead them to their. I'm like, no, that's the wrong thing to do. No, rein it back in. That's the exact opposite of, as you know, Sundae, what life coaches do. But I found myself not taking action. So I would get all of these action steps. We'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. Well, you can find your customers this way, this way, this way, this way. And I would say, yeah, that doesn't work for me. It's too hard. I can't, I would go into the story. The minute Jenny, she said, you're doing the wrong business, you should be doing this, it was like light, manna from heaven. And I could do all of those things that I said I couldn't do. So I think one of the things, it's really hard to know if you're in the right business when you're starting sometimes. Sometimes you feel it and you know it. But if you're having trouble taking action on any of the steps that you know you need to take, reevaluate what's going on there. Would you agree, Sundae?
Yeah, well, I think if it's consistent, and I think the other thing you need to know is, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone, and something kind of nerdy and intellectual I can share with you that applies for entrepreneurs is sometimes we do things wrong and we don't know it. So that's called unconscious incompetence. So we have a website and that's it, and we just think people should come. That's unconscious incompetence. Then you realize, oh, I need to have an opt-in and people need to get my newsletter. That is conscious incompetence, because you know you should have an opt-in, right? And then the next one is, I've got an opt-in, I've got a newsletter. Conscious competence, I'm doing it right, okay? And I'm aware of it. So when people move from to this idea of conscious competence, you need to push through till it feels comfortable, because otherwise you're in conscious incompetence, and that's uncomfortable. So when you have to do something like video for the first time or make a sales call, that is uncomfortable because it's not consciously competent or natural. Yeah. And I really encourage the entrepreneurs who are trying to make their way, this is normal, that you're not going to do it right the first time and it's not going to feel natural, but that doesn't mean it's the wrong thing. And after you do it long enough, you are unconsciously competent, meaning you're doing it well and it's not even something you think about anymore. So that is what you're reaching for, but that isn't the start. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like people think, oh, it's not natural, I'm not doing a good job, it must be wrong. That's not true at all. This is the journey of developing your skills.
Yeah. And from my experience working with people and from my own personal experience, you learn so much by doing the, you'll tell me what phase this is because I get confused, but by doing the stuff that you may not be doing it right. So what would that be? Conscious incompetence?
Yes. Exactly. But that's exactly what you should be working on.
Right. Yeah. So once I became aware of it, I was like somebody had literally lit a match under my body, and I was like, I got to go. But I wasn't good at. There are a lot of things I weren't good at yet, but I learned so much more by doing it and seeing what worked and adjusting, doing it, getting feedback and adjusting. And there's this belief that you're going to hurt your business, that you're going to come across as not professional enough. And here's what I am telling you, as sure as my hair is red, you are going to come off as professional as your message is, not if you make a mistake. It has nothing to do with it. I have made all kinds of mistakes. I have sung on KTV. I've done a lot of things that are not considered professional. But I don't think it has affected my ability to create a business that helps people and makes money. The other thing is, and I think women are so much better at this than men, to have discussions about the mistakes that you make when you are in conscious incompetence. Yeah. You know, like, let's help each other. Let's not pretend that we got it all figured out. Those people I see, and they're online, I kind of want to vomit. I'm like, come on, just do something wrong sometime.
Right.
You know?
But they've had 15 years of practice.
Yes. And
all of those things were probably offline. All their mistakes were offline.
Yes. I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years, and I think I'm making more mistakes now, and I'm okay with that.
Because you're learning more, you're stretching yourself, right? But no one's probably seeing, 99% of those mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the other things you've learned, you're showing forward.
Yeah. I think that a key takeaway here is, regardless of what you're going through in life or in business, growth does not come from sitting. Growth and growth. Yes, of course, you need to have some quiet time and meditate and get to know yourself and your body and what your body and intuition are saying. But growth is going to come from acting on what your body and intuition are saying, right?
Absolutely. And I think what connects you and I in terms of the growth perspective is I'm growing in my area that I coach in. That you're always walking the talk, that you're always challenging yourself. And I think that's where your clients benefit. What you say is you never tell anybody to do anything you haven't tested yourself. Yeah. And it's the same thing. I just am so committed to adding depth to my understanding, my service, by just letting some of these things happen in my life and kind of going with the process. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're not stretching yourself in who you serve, you might not be optimizing how much you can give to your customers.
What a great thing. What a great thing. Sundae absolutely lives the walk, right? I mean, seriously, she's got a lot going on and lives abroad and has her kids abroad, and she is an expat herself. It's one of the things that, and if you know anybody who works for corporate America who moves abroad, who is a traditional expat, or even somebody who works for the State Department who, you know, have people on the ground in different areas, Sundae's a person that they should get to know. Sundae is the only, as far as I know, person who has sort of the triple threat. You know, she is an intercultural specialist. I mean, she has a degree in understanding the differences between cultures and how to get along. She is a coach. So she's not going to just say, there's one way to do it, like I do, and go do it. She's going to say, we're going to lead you to the way that works for you. And she's an expat. So when somebody is going through a coup d'etat or whatever, somebody can say, I understand, and she really does. You know, I wouldn't even know what to say there. I mean, she knows, she lives it. That makes her a wealth of knowledge and a fantastic resource for anyone who is living abroad for whatever reason. You should write her name down for sure. Sundae, let me ask you a couple more questions about being an entrepreneur. What's the hardest part?
For me personally, the hardest part is when I work on something and I don't automatically get feedback, because I'm also a trainer. So I work face to face with a group of people and I can see in their faces, you know, are they with me? Are they not? They can ask questions right away. So if they're not, if people aren't interactive with me online, I feel like, oh, what do people think? How are they accepting it? Are they learning? And because I'm really committed to impact, that's why I do what I do. I want to make an impact on people's lives. And if I don't know what impact I'm making, that's hard for me. So yeah. That's true. That's a personal thing. Hard also is that I don't have internet connection sometimes, you know.
Yeah, that's a technical issue. Sundae, it's interesting because I listened to one of my very first free calls recently. Well, not all of it, and I sped it up. I just wanted to, just for my own learning. And one of the things I said was, I said this on the call, I hate this because I can't see your faces. Like, I have no idea. But interestingly enough, I'm a nerd. If y'all didn't know this, you're about to know it. There is scientific research that proves that women are better able to understand facial expressions, body language, tone of voice than men. But because of that, we crave that feedback. We crave to be able to see, right? Are people getting it? Are they whatever? And so that was a skill that was really hard for me. And when I was first doing free calls, I hated it. First year I did sales school, we didn't do video. And well, I can't see anyway when I do video. I can't see it anyway when we do video. I hate it. I'm like, oh God, are y'all with me? Are y'all with me? Give me a yes. Give me some feedback. Sundae, if you could give, how old are your children, Sundae?
They are 4 and 7.
Great, perfect age. So what I usually say to people is, I have a daughter who is 7 years old, but we're going to use your children, Sundae. We're going to make it even more personal. If you could give your children only one piece of advice for the rest of their life, what would it be?
Oh man,
that's kind of hard. Maybe you should do Hallianna. Forget your children. We won't screw your children up.
No, I haven't. I mean, it's listening to your inner voice.
Yeah. What's the best way for people listening, watching, whatever, who don't know how to do that, to get started listening to an inner voice?
I would take small decisions, like going to the grocery store and looking at what fruit you want to pick out.
Yeah.
Just look and say, what do I really want? Not in your head, but like, what do you crave? Is it strawberries or is it blueberries? And start with tiny little decisions, practicing listening to that, and then upgrade it to bigger decisions, because you'll need it as life goes on. That's
great. Yeah, and we kind of get on, like my husband grocery shops, and I see him get on autopilot. Yeah, I know what we need. I'm like, no, but I don't want that this week. You know, like even with yeah, I know what we need. It's the usual. No, God, no, it's not. But he's just on autopilot. I know. I go. Yeah. Okay, Sundae. Last question for all of the people listening, watching. What's one piece of advice you would give them?
Okay, so I'm assuming that they're entrepreneurs. I would say the most important work you can do in your business is on yourself. So get really clear on your own mind crap. Sorry to say that, but whatever's going through your mind that's blocking you. Because the only person that's really, truly holding yourself back is you. And everybody who's massively successful has had to do the exact same thing. So do the work on yourself, and the rest will follow.
Could not agree more. So true. And I think that one of the things that I say often, not online, but I'm about to say it online, is everybody who wants to start a business should just, before they start a business, should be required to go through life coaching school so they know how to life coach themselves, or should be required to work with a life coach so they know how to life coach themselves. Because I'm telling you what, that's one of, if not the main reason I still have a business, is because I was able to coach myself. Or when my friends coached me, I knew, like Jenny, she coaches me all the time. Okay, but what's really going on here? And I coach her all the time. Wait. So, but if we hadn't gone through that together, I wouldn't know what she was doing. So I think I think that there's a reason people say starting your own business is the biggest path towards self-development. I could not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So not only do you get to work on starting your business, but then you get to work on all this too. So start on this now.
That's true.
Thank you so much for being here. You all need to check Sundae out, regardless of whether you've lived in the same place your whole life. Sundae, what's your web address?
It is Sundaebean.com. That's SUNDAEBEAN, Sundaebean.com.
And we'll have it on the page that has the interview as well. But Sundae is one of those people that I'm telling you, you're going to walk in Barnes & Noble one day and see her beautiful face there with how to survive a coup d'etat or abroad or whatever that word is. I mean, she is, her impact is huge. Her work is world-changing, in my opinion, for the people that she works with. Thank you so much, Sundae, for gracing us with your time. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And I just want to end by saying, if you know someone who lives abroad or are doing that, it doesn't have to be something as dramatic as what people have experienced in more developing countries, that even living in places like Switzerland and France can be really hard in ways you don't expect. So don't underestimate it, and there's nothing wrong with you if you're struggling, but
that's true. Yeah, like when you're driving down and see the cow with the steers, and you're like, if you're thinking, what have we gotten ourselves into? Or like our friend said, we just can't figure out tipping here in the States. Like I remember our friends being so confused by tipping. So yeah, it doesn't have to be as dramatic as the stuff I pulled out. It really is about living well and loving your life wherever you are, right, Sundae?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out, because I focused a lot on the drama. I can't imagine why. Thank you all so much for being here for this episode of Behind Closed Doors, what it really takes to be successful in your business. I am Kendrick Shope, and I believe in you and your business. Have a fantastic day.